Alright, so we're on the last video here, and this time around I'm going to be showing you how to make the controls. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible because it doesn't really take all that long to do any of this. The longest part is probably creating them, if anything, and getting picky like I get. So first things first, I noticed there's a little bit of a minor amount of organizational stuff I'll need to do. Yours may look different. It just depends on how you went through and if you grouped stuff early like I seem to have done. So the first thing I know I'm going to have to do um, is to just take these joints sections that I have and just group them together. Again, I'm just organizing everything in here, so this will be GRP joints. And I might even rename this one. This contains all the basic, the original meshes in it. I'll just call that GRP mesh 01. Just for the sake of argument, you don't have to do that. For now, I'm going to leave those alone. There's going to be some other stuff I have to do. But what I can do, in a little bit, I can hide all my blend shape stuff. But I'm going to hold off on it for just a minute because I got to do all the clusters over here. So the first thing I want to do is set up the lip controls because they're definitely going to be the hardest ones. Um, and from there, I'll move on to the eyes and the brows, and then the neck controls and nose controls as well. So what I like to do is, let me reset my grid again. Give me a second. There we go. Alright, I like to just use squares for the lips. So I'm just going to use my EP curve tool set to linear. And I'm going to snap it to the grid right here in my front view. So I get the basic square. I'll center its pivot and scale it down. Now, getting it in the right spot is going to be, I'm going to have to use some different views here, obviously. So, there we go. Just moving it right in front of the lip. And I'm going to have a grand total of 8 of these that match with the clusters that we made. So I want to scale it down to a good size and make sure that it's out far enough. That should be good right there. Okay. So I can duplicate this now, and if you want, you can use your wireframe to kind of, aim where you want to put it. I'm going to duplicate this and create all the other ones that I need. So I'm going to need one for the center of the top lip. I'll need one for the midway points, as I called them. And I'm noticing my size might not be great here. You know what, I'm just going to shrink these down just a bit more. There. Should be good. Okay. And I'm going to need one for the corner as well. Okay, maybe right here. Okay, so I got half of them, so what I'm going to do now is just move these back in space a little bit, just kind of get that, follow the contour of the lips. Just do that. And I will just take these and duplicate and flip them so that I have an exact copy on the other side. So duplicate them, group them, set the scale X to -1 on that group. Although I'm going to move these back just a little bit further. I'm getting very picky for a video that I didn't expect to even go very long, so don't mind me. That's good. Alright, so I've got those duplicates. I'll unparent them and delete the group. Then all of these, I'll freeze transformations and delete history on them. And what I'm going to do is take the naming conventions of those clusters that I have on the lips and kind of mimic that. So there they all are right there. So I'm going to copy that naming convention right there. So this one is the CL center lower lip, right? Yeah, lower lip 01. This one is the CL center upper lip 01. And this is going to be Left mid upper. So I'll just copy that name. Oh, I don't want CL. I'm sorry. I want CC because these are curves, not clusters. So control curve. Okay. And then very similar, but this will be lower. Lip 01. And this is going to be CCL corner. Corner lip 01. Excuse me, I'm still fighting off the cold, by the way, so I may have a coughing fit here and there. Alright, this is CCR corner lip 01. And I'll just copy this, because this is the right side one. And this is the lower right. Alright, so they're all named. Now, in order to get these working with the clusters, I'm going to have to do something a little bit different than we're used to with controls. We have done this before, but it's just going to be a little bit different. We're just going to use a connection in this case to make everything work. Because if I make this control the cluster, then the cluster controls this head, and then this head controls this head through the blend shape. So we'd end up with what's called a cycle, and those just are not good. It's the same as an endless loop. So what I'm going to do is just select the matching pairs from the controls and the clusters, and I'm just going to do a connection between them. So I'll select the center lower lip first and get in my connection editor. And I'm going to turn off the non-keyable stuff on both sides because I don't need any of that. Alright, so I've got CC center lower lip, so I want CL center lower lip, which is right there. And what I'm going to do is just click translate to translate, and that'll connect it. So you're going to want to do that with all of them, so I'll start by getting the next control curve. So this is the center upper, so I need the center upper cluster. And just load it onto the right and translate to translate. So, next one, left mid upper, translate to translate. And what's next? Left mid lower, translate to translate. Left corner to left corner. Right corner control to right corner lip. Cluster. And right mid upper to, where is it? There it is. Right mid upper. And right mid lower to right mid lower. There it is. Oh, I already connected something to that, which means I did something wrong. So, let me just break these real quick. Pays to pay attention, but unfortunately I didn't this time. Okay. So let me check the left mid lower because that's probably what I did wrong. Left mid lower. Yep, there it is. So I have to reconnect that to the left mid lower. There it is. And that's connection editor. And the left mid lower, that's the right mid, there's the left lid. Left mid, sorry. Translate to translate. So now, if I use these, you can see that it's over there controlling those clusters. And, of course, I never did the weights on this, so you'll see that it barely does anything because the weights have not been mirrored at all. But in order to, save time, I'm going to... It's working. It is controlling the clusters at least, so that's a good thing. So we're on the right path. Now, if I had all the weights painted, everything would be working 100%. But we're at, let's say, at 90% at this point. We're controlling the clusters, but the clusters aren't doing much to the skin because there's no weights painted. So, not a huge deal. I know it's working now. So, now what I want to do is make it so that when I rotate the jaw and everything, those controls will follow because right now they're just not going to be able to do that. So what I do is make 3 groups out of these. I'm going to take the top ones, just those three, and group them together. I'm going to rename that CCGRP upper lip 01. And then I'll do the same to the lower lip, just taking those three, same ones. CCGRP lower lip 01. And then I take the corners and put them into their own group. And this becomes CCGRP corner lip 01. Now, in order to make them follow, I'm just going to use some basic parent constraints. So whenever I move the upper jaw like this, the upper controls will follow that. Whenever I move the lower jaw like this, the lower ones will follow that. The corner ones, however, have their own unique little situation that happens. Because what I'm going to do is basically make it so that they follow both. Now, I'm not actually going to use the jaw joints. What I'm going to do is create some controls for the jaws. So I might just make something pretty basic here. I'm trying to think. Generally what I do is I'll trace on the surface of the character. So I might as well do that just for the heck of it. So I'll grab my EP curve tool again, and I'm just holding down V, and I'm going to trace the shape of this guy's chin. Okay. Center its pivot, and oops, I missed a little bit. Let's fix that. When I snapped that last point, it looked like it went a little too far away. So, there we go. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my new chin control for this guy. What I want to do is just move it out. Okay. Looks okay. I'm not horribly happy with the shape of it, but you can make whatever you want, obviously. Now what I want to do with this is first name it, CC lower jaw 01. And I want to set the pivot of this by holding down D and V and setting it to the lower jaw joint, which is up there. Okay, so when I rotate this, it will essentially be rotating from up there. Alright, and to set this up, what I'm going to do is just select the control and select the lower jaw joint, and I'm going to do an orient constraint. So now, if I rotate that, you can see it rotates the lower jaw. Wonderful. So let's make the upper jaw one as well. And for that, I like to use the back of this guy's head and just kind of trace the back of his cranium. So, again, I'm holding down V and just snapping to the surface. Okay, looks good. Center its pivot just to move it out real quick because I'm going to edit its pivot again in just a moment. Looks okay. And for this one, freeze transformations, which I did not do in the lower jaw, but I can still do now. Thankfully I remembered. So, freeze transformations on that curve, CC upper jaw 01. And I'm going to set this guy's pivot to the upper jaw joint, which is right here. So DV and snap it down. Just make sure you hit that spot. And then, with that control still selected, I'm going to select the upper jaw joint, which is right there, and again do an orient constraint. So now when I rotate this, the upper jaw goes. Perfect. So we're well on our way. Now, what I need to do next is set it up so that these will work with the jaw. Just going to save real quick. And what I'm going to do is parent two of them under those controls. So the lower lip controls are going to get parented to the lower jaw. So now when I rotate the lower jaw, you can see they go with it. And I can grab them and, well, they will be. They're going to move the clusters right now because there's no weights. But, again, it's working. I can tell you that. I believe this is the one. Yeah. The corner ones seem to want to work right now, but without the weights on everything else, it's just not going to look very pretty. So Only a couple of them do, but it's fixable afterward because it's all on this head. All right, so the upper lip controls, those are going to go into the upper jaw. So the same thing happens so that when I rotate this, they go with it. To make the corner ones work, though, I want them to be right in between because I want them always to follow the corner. So what I do is I do a set of parent constraints between the upper and lower jaw control. So basically, they're going to be playing tug of war with that group at all times. So I'll select the upper jaw control and then the corner lips group, and I'll do a parent constraint. I'm going to maintain offset just to make sure. Then the lower jaw and the corner lips, and do another parent constraint by hitting G. So now you'll see as I rotate this, oh, something seems to have gone wrong here. I've had this happen before, but I can never tell what causes this. I may have to look into it. I've only had it happen once or twice, but it does seem to happen every now and then. Not quite sure. I know that is the method, so I would say try it, and if it doesn't work, I can look into it, but I know that that should be working. Let me try it the other way around. I doubt that's going to make a difference, but hey, it's worth a shot, right? Let me get rid of that other parent constraint. Okay, so that's all fine. So everything in there should be frozen. Yeah. So, alright, let's try it this way. If it doesn't work, again, this is the method that I'm always using, but I've just had that happen strangely for whatever reason I don't know, but it just seems to happen every now and then. Hmm. Not entirely certain. Tell you what, I'll look into it. I just know that that has worked for me in the past. So for now, just go with it. See if it works for you. It may just be my computer wants to bug out right now and make me look silly. So either way, essentially the lips are now done, despite that weird error that's going on. I will fix that. It could just be a parenting issue, and maybe since I'm doing it in a slightly different order, it could just be that. It may fix itself. So next up, I want to make the eye controls. And for that, I'm going to directly copy something that I saw in a tutorial, but I just love the shape of it, and it just seems to fit really well. So what I want to make for the eyes is a weird shape. I have no name for it, so I'll just draw it in here. And you can pause this and recreate that same shape. It works really well. This is going to be the main eye control that controls both of them. So after that, I'm also going to create two plus signs on the left and right side. That's what the notch is taken out of it before. So again, I'm just snapping to my grid, holding down X, create a plus, and I'll just do it again over here instead of duplicating it. There we go. Alright, so I will name these. This is going to be CC main eyes. This will be CCL I, and this will be CCR I. Okay, I'll take these. I'm going to scale down the pluses ever so slightly to make it so that you can tell the difference between that and the centerpiece. Okay. Alrighty. So now I'll take all three of them, and I'm just going to group them real quick and center its pivot. So this way I can place them and scale them at the same time. Alright. So in my front view, I will scale the whole kit and caboodle down and center it as best as I can, and that should be good. And then I'll move it out in front of the face. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, so now I can unparent those things, and I'll get rid of the group, and I'll freeze transformations and delete history on these objects. Now to get them working is pretty simplistic. First thing you want to do is take the two pluses, and you're going to parent them under that main eye control, so that when you move this, it's not, they're going to go with it. Now to set up the eyes, what I'm going to do is select the controller and select the eye joint itself, the one that the eye was parented to a long, long time ago, or constrained to, I'm sorry. And I'm going to do an aim constraint. Okay, and to set it up, what you want to do is check out the manipulator to see what your aim axis is and what's up. So, turn on maintain offset. The aim axis is whatever direction the eye is aiming at the controller at, and that's going to be X. So 1 is already set up, and if that's aiming, then the up is going to be Y in this case, because that's pretty obvious that it's up. So in this case, it's actually set up for us, which is great. So I can just hit add, and now wherever I move that, the aim constraint will work. Okay? Same thing for the right side. There we go. Right controller, right eye joint, aim constraint. So now, if I move this around, you can see the eyes follow, and then I can individually control them as well, which is great. So the eyes are already set up. Now, the other thing you'll want to do is set up some extra attributes for this. You're going to want to be able to control the blinking. So you're going to want to add an attribute to the left and right eye control, probably. And I'll just call this blink. And, maybe, actually maybe -10 to 10 with a default of 0. There it is. And what you're going to do is set it up so that you have a set-driven key. I'll do the left eye real quick since it's the same for both. But you're going to be controlling these two joints. Let me shrink the manipulator here. Okay? To control the blink. And they're going to be rotating in opposite directions. Remember, I couldn't fix that, but it's not a big deal. This is the part where it would affect you, but it's not a hard thing to fix. So I'll select those two joints, the upper lid and the lower lid joint, and go to Set Driven Key, which loads them into the driven. And my driver in this case will be the left eye controller. So what I want to do is select the two joints, and in this case it's their rotate Z, right there, and blink. So everything's at default right now, so create my default key, and then I'm going to adjust everything. So at -10 is what I'm going to use as the opened eye, like a surprised eye, and I'll individually rotate these so that you can get a wide eye. Now that's really, really wide, so either way, I'll go with it, better to have it extreme than not. And I'll hit key. I'll switch my blink controller to 10, and I will do the opposite. Went a little overboard. Okay, and I'll hit key. So now you can see how the blink controller can make you blink. Although it looks like I didn't actually set number 10. Sorry. Let me do that again. Alright, upper lid. Okay. And key. So now it should work just fine. Perfect. So that's how you'd set up a blink controller, basically. Alright, I'll let you guys do the right one because I want to move on and get the rest of this done. So next up, and it's a little hard to see the clusters in this view, which is fine. So what I'm going to do, I like to use circles for these. These are going to be for the brows. Excuse me. So I will move that up and just kind of position it where that first cluster is and shrink it because it is way too large. Okay. And I'll move them forward. Okay. I'm going to throw in X-ray mode because it'll make this a little bit easier. So I'll duplicate that and make my next one. And duplicate once more and make the last one. And I'm going to be moving these forward and backward in Z in just a moment. So I'll hold off on duplicating them yet. Okay. Let's see. First one looks okay. I think I'm fine with that. Something like that, I think, should be okay. So I'll freeze transformations and delete history, and I'll name them. This will be CCL inner brow, CCL mid brow, and CCL outer. Oops, missed one. Outer brow. And I'll take these and make an exact duplicate for the other side. So duplicate them, group them, scale x to -1, and I'm going to rename these real quick. This is the right, and so is this. And last but not least, that one. I'll unparent them and freeze transformations so that they don't have that 180, and delete the group. So there are all of my eyebrow controls. And you know what? I think I might move these back a little bit more. They're just uh, the outer ones are just a little too far forward. That's just me being picky. Alright, so to connect these, what I'm going to do is I can just do a straight up point constraint this time around. So if I select this, and if you're able to get the clusters, congratulations, but they are a little difficult to get. So you may, if you can get one of them, find them in your outliner at least. There they are. So that'll help you out a lot. So just connect them to their corresponding one. So CCL inner brow, CCL inner brow, and I'll just do a point constraint with maintain offset on, and now you can see that, hey, they move. So you just do that to the corresponding controls and clusters, and keep going. Right inner, right inner, right mid, right outer, and oh, I didn't paint the weights on that either. But either way, you can see they're controlling the curve, and that's what matters. That means it's going to control once the weights are painted. So those are now done. And the last thing you need to do really for the face is create some nose controls. Uh, Basically, you want to be able to rotate the nostrils so that they all work. Right now there's no weights painted on them. And be able to move the front of the nose. What you make is up to you. I've seen a lot of different things. I might trace the surface and do a point constraint, but it's really your call. I'll let you design those, but again, you're going to create one that allows you to rotate the nostril and also scale it along the aim axis so that you can flare them out. So that would be a custom attribute at that point, but it's exactly the same as the eye. It's just you're not creating a blink for the nose, obviously. So, as long as you can transfer the skill from the eye to the nose, you're fine. So now, what I'm going to do is continue to clean this up. I do need two more controls for this. So what I like to use, and actually at this point, I can hide my blend shapes group. That way, all I can see is this guy. Alright, so what I'm going to do is create one of my voodoo pins that I like so much. So, I'll just draw that out, and I know it's going to be far too big. Let me just move the pivot of it. There we go, DX, snap. And I'll scale it down, including the pin itself, because that is far too large. And that's too small. So, went from one extreme to another. Alright, that should be good. So this one I'm going to snap to the root joint and freeze its transformations. And I'm going to duplicate that and put it onto neck C. Actually, you know what? I'll put it on neck B. I think that'll give us a better control. Yeah, that ought to be good. Oop, I didn't duplicate it. I'm sorry. There we go. Looks like it's right on spot. Freeze transformations, and I will... Why are there so many? Oh, I'm sorry. I see what I did. Alright, so this one will be CC neck A01 or root, or however you want to call it, lower neck, upper neck. In fact, lower neck, and upper neck is probably a lot simpler for this. CC upper neck 01. And that should do it. So what I'm going to do is set it up so that this one is orient constrained to this one right here, so that I can rotate the neck and I'll be able to still get that chicken head thing. But not everything's working right now because we have to parent stuff. So what I'm going to do is parent everything, and then I'll go back to this one in just a minute because there's a special little setup we have to do for that. Excuse me. All right, so we have to connect some more stuff to the upper jaw. Basically, the eyes and all the brow controls go under the upper jaw, as well as the nose controls would. Oh, looks like I got something extra. Nope, I don't. I'm sorry. So if you have nose controls, they'll be parented under the upper jaw as well because that's part of it. All right. So we've got our lower neck, we have our upper neck, and we have our two jaws. And what we want to do is now make it so that this will follow with the chicken neck joint that we had. And once we parent everything, it'll all work fine. So what I'm going to do is find the end joint for neck A. So if you want, you can just select neck A and hit the down arrow on your keyboard, and you'll see that bone end joint. This is the one that the other joint section, if you recall, we have two in here. We have this little segment and this. This is all following that bone end joint through a point constraint. So what I want to do is have this controller follow that as well. So I'm going to select that bone end joint and then the controller and do a point constraint. So now you'll see that wherever that goes, it will follow, which is we're on the right track. Lastly, what I want to do is select the upper neck control, and if I can get it, neck B. There it is. You may want to use your, oh, it's right there in your outliner. So select that joint, or that controller, and neck B01, and I'm going to do an orient constraint. So it's following the bone end joint, but it's rotating based on this controller. So now if I do this, you'll see, yes, it goes with it, and now I can also rotate neck B. However, not everything's parented yet. So once I do that, everything should work much better. So you want to take the upper and lower jaw control, parent them under the upper neck controller, I'm sorry. And what else do I have in there? Now, when I do this, you'll see everything with the head goes with it, and all is good. And that's basically it. So, the last thing I want to do is just clean up my outliner a little more. I've got these three sets for my controls. I still got those corner lips. I've got the lower neck and the upper neck. Going to group them all together. GRP, controls, and then take all those groups, group them together, and call this Rudy, or whatever you want to call it. And that's how you finish. After that, you can go through and clean up all the controls, because obviously this one, I'm never going to rotate it. It doesn't do anything. So you want to go through all of your controls, select the attributes you're not going to use, and lock and hide them. Okay, so like this one, again, it's only going to be moved. Lock and hide. The jaw, only ever going to be rotated, so I can lock everything else. So that's pretty much what you want to do. You want to go through all your controls and do that, as well as even give them the override color. You can go to the attribute editor for that, and under the first tab, you'll see display, drawing overrides. You enable it, and then you can choose a color. And I also have that script that I gave you guys that's called quick color. But again, anything on the left I use red, anything on the right I use blue. You can use your own color coordination system, but that's generally highly used in the industry. So either way, this video is already at 35 minutes just about, so I'm going to finish it. But if you have any questions, you guys can email me. But hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Sorry about the little mistake earlier with, well, let's check it out. Let's see if it's working now that everything's been parented. Still a little off. I'll look into it, but I know that's the method I'm always using. So it generally works pretty good. It could just be a tweak on my computer. So either way, I'll render this out and get it on there for you.